I almost messed up a $7,500 stone. Luckily for me, a computer error made me double check some different stuff a little more carefully than I normally would, and I think we gonna be okay. Welcome to another edition of the Gravestone Pros here in North Country Memorials. We are so glad that you're here today. We're gonna be working on this problem, figuring out what went wrong, and showing you all the details. It's gonna be great, so come along. Last week's video kind of ended off with me starting a big stone getting cut on the ADSI cutter, and then we went out and saw the lights had gotten finished and we got new lights put up in the shop, and then we went and checked on Dad and some of the etching that he was working on for a future stone he's going to be doing, and then that was kind of the end of the video. Right after that got finished, I walked back in and found out that my cutter had stopped in the middle of the cut job. All right, we have talked about this before with our ADSI inland datagraph cutter. We really like this cutter. We've been using it a long time, but every now and then it will stop in the middle. Now I already rolled this back, but when I came back in, this had stopped and it was partway through. It had everything cut that you see on here, all this stuff, but it hadn't cut the Harvey at the top and it hadn't cut the outline yet. So I'm going to try and do something I almost never do. Because of how much it had done, I think I might be able to, which I already did, roll it back to the starting space and then try and take, and what I'll do on the computer, I'll put you in this hand so you can see what I'm doing. On the computer, I will take all the stuff that it cut, which is all that down there. I will take and highlight it, delete it off, because this is what it needs to cut still. Now, because I have this little line here, I'll be able to see if it lined up with this line at the proper spot. If it does, all that stuff that's in there should be centered still properly, correctly. We'll see if that works. I don't know if it will, but it's worth a shot. Otherwise, I ruin a whole bunch of stencil. So there's like a tiny little groove that gets made. I'll show you that. This stencil wasn't sitting on here very long, but it was sitting long enough that it makes that tiny little groove right here. And so if I roll that groove back, I know that is where I started from last time. So I'm going to do the same thing, turn it back on. I don't know why this does this. Every now and then it come in and it's just shut itself off in the middle of a cut. I remember when we talked to one of the techs or something, they were basically saying it's like a overheating protection or some kind of safety shut off was why that did that. But we can never figure out why it's triggering. It really shouldn't be, but it does sometimes. Change my force back to what I had it at, and let's cut it and see how it does. If I'm lucky, this will work. And if it does, saves me some money in stencil and the aggravation and frustration of having to redo the entire thing. There's nothing worse than having a big old design to cut and you get almost all of it done, but not quite. So hopefully this will work. We'll see. Guys, thank you so much for subscribing, supporting this channel. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. If you want to help the channel grow and you want to be involved in what we're doing, certainly leave comments, leave likes, leave dislikes. Any interaction is good. And of course, subscribe, hit the bell, do that YouTube stuff. We really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, it's finishing cutting the outline right now. Going across, and it's going to come back across the top. And then it will zoom back over because it already cut the bottom. Already cut the bottom and the bottom there, so we'll see if it worked. We'll know shortly. So obviously we know the last name will be centered to the correct stencil. The question is if all that stuff on the bottom, if that will be centered or if that'll be off. If it is off, we might be able to actually just cut it and then recenter it onto the stone where it needs to be. That is very possible, but we'll see how it works and if it's going to do what we need it to or not in just a minute. Either way, we'll have to cut it off to know. We'll take it in then and make some measurements with it. that will tell us. I always like messing with a stencil. It's one of my favorite parts of the job here. Sometimes though, when they're a little longer than normal, they're a bit more to wrestle. That's okay. Just a little more fun in the challenge, in my opinion. All right, I got the stencil, and we'll set it down right on the stone here to do our measuring on, because this is a nice flat surface. And I grabbed the ruler. I grabbed Dad because I figured this is a big stone, an expensive stone, and we want to make sure it is done and done right. So I had him come for his expertise, make sure we're not missing anything. Yeah, everything cut, that first bit, except for the top letters and the outline. So now, if I measure from the edge, 6 1/4, 6 and 6 1/2 plus 2 lines. These are 16ths, so that'd be 6 5/8, correct?
5/8, yeah.
All right, 6 5/8 on that side, and on this side, we are not quite. We are 6. Here's the thing.
In the end, you're going from your line.
We're about 6 5/8 from here, but not from the dot. So I think we're just slightly off. But here's the thing. If this line is straight, we can cut this, get this centered up top, get these centered down bottom, and we're still fine. So it's just a little bit off. Let's check this top piece, and that is 12 1/8. Look at that. How is that off that much? It's not even.
Here's the edge of the stone.
No, I want the edge of the stencil to the edge of the stencil.
What, bud?
That's 10 1/2.
Bring it here.
This is not even close to being centered. All right, so that's not centered.
So we cut that.
This is closer to being centered than that is. I mean, that's darn close down here. But that is not, well, no, we don't have to cut that. We just move, yeah, cut it out of here and just move it.
Bring it around here, buddy.
Now I got to go check and see if it's wrong on the, if it's wrong in the other room. Here, take it to Grandpa. He'll help you. So, I had something that was off, but not what I thought. So, let me look and see if it's off on here. And looking at it right away, I can tell that it is off. So, I'm going to try and computer center it here. And, yep. It moved it over. All right, let's see. How much did it actually move it over? 1.46 inches, so almost 1.5 inches. Basically 1 inch and 15/32 is how much it moved it. Crazy. Absolutely crazy how that got off. I don't know, but now we will go check my file and see, was it off on the original signed, or did I, moving stuff around and move stuff, just mess it up here? This is the question. All right, I'm going to bring in the copy, the original copy, and sure enough, it's messed up. It is messed up on the original copy. It never got, finally, now this particular file, this customer, we did a lot of different sizes for them, and we went back and forth and round, and I just must not have done the standard double check the straightening. So in a way, it's good that that mistake happened, because I may not have checked those edges. An inch and a half like that, I would hope I would see that, but I'm not sure that I would have. So I am glad that the cutter messed up, because that saved me messing up this stone and getting that lettering off centered. So I am now very happy that mistake was made. We did not ruin any stencil from the looks of it. We'll be able to save all that stencil that we used. We'll just have to cut it and shift stuff over the proper amount so that it works and is the way we want it to. So I will go ahead and do that, and we'll get it all on and taken care of. We got ahead of ourselves here. We started cutting before showing what we were doing. Basically, Dad struck a line on here and cut it so that we can take the top part and move the top part over one way. And the bottom part, I don't know if we're going to be square on, or we might need to move that just slightly, but all I'm doing now is cutting her in half using the line that Dad scored. When the computer scores a line, it scores it right down to the plastic. This one's not quite down there, so it's just a little bit harder to follow, but still not bad, honestly. So now we can put this on in two pieces, top and bottom, but we'll know that this is going to be straight still because it'll butt right up against the piece that we just did. So that will be helpful. We'll put you on time lapse, let you watch us do that. Guys, thank you so much for coming along, hanging out with us today. We had a good time. We averted disaster, thankfully. We did not ruin that $7,500 stone. We could have easily ruined it, and we did not, so that was great. Things are clicking along in the monument shop here. We're early February, and we're getting a lot of stuff done, so it's always good to be getting winter things done, taken care of. Things kind of move slower this time of year, but that's okay. Things are being done, they're being done right, and that's the most important part to me, that when we're doing stuff, we're doing it right. Not how much we're getting done, how fast, that doesn't matter so much. Anyways, so glad that you joined us. We will see you all next time.